Rise and shine, they're my friends and colleagues, and welcome to the I Give a Damn podcast, brought to you by Fluorescene Media, the same company behind ODs on Facebook. I'm your host, Dr. Joseph Allen, and today we're playing a recording that we did back at Vision Expo West in the end of 2024, and this is with Trudi Charest. She's also known as eye care marketer on some social channels, and she's considered one of the leading authorities in media marketing and social media marketing for both eye clinics as well as eye doctors as personal brands. I think in this conversation, it's just an incredible wealth of knowledge that Trudi shares with us. I even learned some things about social media and marketing. So if you own a clinic, even if you don't, and you just have, if you're a doctor and you have a brand of your own, or you have aspiring dreams of how to better grow your brand and your reach and your network, you're going to get a lot out of this episode. So I'm really excited to share this with you. So please, let's double click on this, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and here we go with Trudi Charest. Before we dive into the episode, I do want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, MacuHealth. If you've been following my content, then you know how deeply passionate I am about ocular health, as well as improving and protecting the eyesight of our patients in the clinic. MacuHealth is known for their triple carotenoid formula, lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin. And whether you're concerned about age-related macular degeneration or just want to help your patients with the nutrients they need to stay sharp, MacuHealth has you covered. We'll talk about MacuHealth again a little bit later in the episode, but otherwise, let's get going.
My name is Trudi Charest, and I've been in the eye care industry my whole life. I always love to tell this story because I've been really fortunate to work in almost every sector of this industry. I literally grew up in it. My dad was an optician, so I started in retail optical. I've worked for B&L, I've worked for Optos. I was the vice president of training and marketing for an optometry buying group before I actually started a digital marketing agency for optometrists and ophthalmologists, marketing for ECPs. But more recently, I've kind of shifted over to artificial intelligence, and I'm working with CSI dry eye software.
I know here where you just gave a lecture at Vision Expo on things like personal branding.
Yes.
Because you have this lengthy history of working and seeing so much of our industry, but working and understanding the marketing side. So can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of personal branding and how it impacts both optometrists specifically, as personally, like personal branding, but also how it reflects in their business?
Yeah, absolutely. I've spent the last 10 years with the marketing agency, truly diving into helping practices grow their practice brand. And, I think that what happened in the last few years, especially with COVID and, the world shutting down and us being forced to be digital and virtual, which I already was. And I'll backtrack to say that I have been building my personal brand for 20 years. And I knew the value of doing it. I started when it was traditional branding, meaning shaking hands and giving out business cards, to introducing yourself at conferences, to truly growing a digital brand. And, I jumped on that when Facebook came out, when, LinkedIn and Instagram, and I've gone on to the TikTok and everything else, but I've truly figured out how to grow my personal brand. And, throughout all this, I realized that I missed a sector in my marketing, life cycle, and that was that I didn't understand that I had not helped optometrists and ECPs build their personal brand. And I found an interesting stat, and this goes back to the talk I did yesterday at Vision Expo, and the talk was called Who Knows You? The Art of Personal Branding for ECPs. And, the stat is what propelled me to create that talk, and I've been on the circuit now for a little over a year doing a similar talk, and it is that 60% of patients search the name of the practice. The other 40% search the name of the doctor or the optician. And it said to me right away, okay, so what happens when they start searching you, right? And so the exercise I did in my talk yesterday was everybody pull out your phones, search your name, and start telling me what comes up. So, Joey, what do you think comes up first?
For me, I will expect it'll probably link to probably my previous practice or the current one that I'm at, or my other social media channels.
Right. I mean, you're well known on social media, so of course some of your social is going to come up, but the typical optometrist, let's talk about that, is what happens is their practice website comes up, but because we search their name, so let's say Dr. Joseph Allen, it's the About Us page. And so the About Us page comes up, and that's where this patient is landing. So what do you think is on most optometrists' About Us page?
Probably their credentials, what they do for hobbies, and that's about it.
Right. And how important do you think that is to that patient?
Probably not super important, right?
Yeah.
I think probably having a scheduled appointment now would probably be a good thing to have on
Right.
right there.
They're actually there to either book an appointment with you or they need some more information on something. And yes, you're right. What happens is they land on the About Us page, and there's when you graduated, what school you went to, maybe if you're married and have kids, and not that that's not important. It's just not important in that moment to that patient. What they want to know is you specialize in dry eye, you're certified in myopia management, you maybe fit hard contact lenses, whatever it is. They want to know that, and then they want to know how to book an appointment. So that was the first thing I taught, was make sure that your About Us page is really optimized to quickly get them to where they need to go and learn your story or what you're passionate about or what you specialize in. But the second thing that shows up is always interesting. So what do you think the second thing is?
Probably, I don't know, pictures? I'm not sure.
So it's their LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, okay.
So almost always, if they have a LinkedIn profile, which a lot of optometrists do, or professionals in general do, it's their LinkedIn page. And then somewhat followed by either Facebook or Instagram. It's about a 50-50 chance. And what really propelled me again to create this content was the fact that I went into my own research. I went onto 100 optometrist profiles, and 98 of them out of 100 were unoptimized or empty. So again, like a patient's landing on this LinkedIn profile, and there's no pictures. There's, this big real estate banner that they could tell their story of what they specialize in and how to contact them. There's no link to their website. Their experience is not filled out. Half the time they haven't even claimed their business page on LinkedIn because people don't know about that. Or they haven't even linked to their business and their company or their practice. And so that's the next thing that I showed them is number one. And I had a ton of before and after examples. And I literally, have shown that, a whole bunch of the optometrists that I've helped optimize their profile, I asked them, I said, can you do me a favor and just track whether you're actually getting patients from LinkedIn? And they are. They're showing in their Google Analytics of traffic getting to their website to in some of, the practices where they actually ask, how did you hear about us? People are saying, I went to your LinkedIn profile.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know, even just reflecting on my own LinkedIn, I didn't start a LinkedIn until probably early 2020 when COVID was occurring and I was at home and I'm like, gosh, what could I be doing? Let me go figure out LinkedIn. Yeah. And I think I definitely need to go back and optimize mine.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, exactly. I know somebody. So beyond LinkedIn, with the personal branding side of things, how do you recommend doctors, specifically in optometry, even position themselves? How do they even get their mindset to be like, what am I trying to do here?
Right. In my talk yesterday, I have a slide that I want to, tell you about because it maybe tells that part of the story is in our industry, we're not very good at talking about ourselves. We're not very good about saying why us or why choose us. So I have that slide where, we all look the same because we're not good at differentiating ourselves. We're maybe getting better at differentiating our practices and saying why our practice is better than the next practice, but we also need to do it for us. And that's part of that personal branding. And I think the easiest way for, an ECP or an optometrist to think about it is to literally, what are you passionate about? So, what do you care about? Because then that's what we're going to start to put into your brand. So maybe you love dry eye treatments and helping these dry eye patients, or maybe you're a entrepreneur, business person who started a bunch of practices and you're just really good at business, and those are the kind of things that we can actually tell a story about you in your personal branding. So on your LinkedIn profiles, on your Instagram profile, in some of the strategy, even in what you post or share, we're starting to teach you to really share what you want somebody to know. So your personal brand is not only just, what you're putting out to your colleagues and your friends, it's what you're putting out to your current patients and your potential patients. So what do you want them to know about you? That's the easiest question you can ask yourself to start building that personal brand.
There's so much on this. I know we could probably talk about this for hours.
We could.
But I'm just trying to think, hey, when it comes to something like LinkedIn, right? Because there's so many different websites you could be on. You could be on Instagram, you can be on TikTok, YouTube, so many different things.
Right.
I think for a lot of doctors, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it is.
And so when it comes to at least LinkedIn, let's say that, because you've already identified.
I'm a LinkedIn guru, I'll just say it.
but beyond just, website, have a solid website for your clinic, maybe even yourself.
Yeah.
Then you want a LinkedIn. So with LinkedIn alone, what type of content, other than just filling it out and having your information there, what type of content would be, in your opinion, one of the best things to post as a professional in the industry and for patients viewing?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think it first starts with, before you even get to posting, is just building a great profile. Because a lot of patients, they're going to land on your profile. And again, what do they want? They want to actually get an appointment. So are they going to scroll through everything on your profile or even get to your post? Maybe not. And so the first thing is optimizing that profile. And that starts with, and I can't even stress this enough, the number one thing patients say that they remember is your picture, right? The picture that you have as a professional on your or on your profile. And so I get on there, and again, sometimes pictures are missing, or they're 20 years old, the pictures, and they're not reflective, or they're not professional. They're not high res, so meaning they're blurry. So the pictures are really important, and I can't stress enough, invest in a professional photographer, and really you and your entire staff get great headshots, so you'll use them over and over again. Then put the right keywords, because it is still indexable, meaning keywords are showing up. I've gone onto profiles where it doesn't even say you're an optometrist. So make sure the keywords are there, some of the words that you are specializing in. So it can be optometrist, dry eye specialist, that you have a dry eye and aesthetic spa, to myopia management, and then book an eye exam, and then a link to where to go. So once that profile is optimized, you can start your strategy. And this is, about content sharing is always seems to be, again, a bit stressful for doctors. One, I don't have time. I don't want to create content. And I am the first to say, you don't have to. I don't create content every day. You probably don't create. Well, yes, you do.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm at least thinking about it.
But you also like and share other people's content all the time. And so that is an easy way. There's so much content out there that's still relative to your patients that you can find easily. So let's just say some of those, optometry magazine publications, they have great content that you can just grab and share on any of the subjects you're passionate about. Or you can link, and it'll still show up in some of your feeds. And so it's so important to, again, go back to, what do you want to be known for? That's the kind of content you should share. Don't overshare or continue to share the same thing over and over again. Mix up your content a bit. I like to be everything from educational to entertaining to, somewhat promotional. I'll give you one just last tip on content, is the content that usually is linked the most is the one with people in it, people that So for example, at Vision Expo, I'm on a plane, And it was fun to see that I'm sitting with two of my really good colleagues and friends. And so we posted a picture that you'll never know who you're running into on the way to Vision Expo.
I saw that post.
It has 130 likes this morning and 10 comments. And, you can't buy that kind of exposure of, that posting something like that got way more traction than a static post.
And I think there's showing humanity. It's showing that what you're passionate about. It shows that you're excited about things. I think we all, life can get down, it can get frustrating for anybody, but seeing that, this professional, whether they're an eye doctor or in your position, they're a human.
Yeah.
They have friends. They're going on an adventure of some kind, and you can better connect with them.
Yeah.
And I think and plus it also echoes your expertise.
Yeah.
And that I'm going to be actually lecturing. Don't, if you're around on Wednesday morning, catch it at, 9 a.m.
Yeah. And there's so many things that you can utilize from, in your practice, taking a picture and sharing something new to, something fun that's happening with you and your team. Even if you're traveling here to Vision Expo or something like that, is take a picture of the trade show, take a picture of, maybe some new frames you're looking at. Whatever it is there's easy ways to create content these days that resonates.
I know I have found that some of my patients, they will follow me on socials, and they engage with the fact that I'm posting, hey, I'm just catching this new class from this other dry eye expert. These are just some cool tips and takeaways, or here's this new research article that was posted by some of my mentors. And they respect me more because they recognize that I am constantly learning to improve my skills to help treat them.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, I also think that patients, because I get this question, I got it yesterday in the talk, is, well, should I have a personal profile and maybe a business profile, like let's say Instagram? Do I want my patients to see the things that I'm doing? And I said, well, it's a great question, but I am the first person to say, if you have a public profile, meaning you haven't made it so patients can't follow you, is you should be sharing more of what you do, but also, your family life. And I follow lots of ECPs and optometrists, and when they show a picture of them with their kids or something, their patients are liking it. And I think it again goes back to that relationship building that you need to do with patients to continue to get their attention and support. Is they appreciate that you're human and like them and you have a family, and it's not just a transactional experience.
You're part of the community.
Right.
People see that. They see that you're doing things. I think, there's a lot of people who say, have some sort of a 90-10 or a 70-30 split of, 70% of your content about your business, your goal, your profession. And then, you can have your own choice of 30% of it's your just personal day-to-day, something you're excited about that shows your personality outside.
I actually think that's a really good split. That could be a great, percentage to aim towards. But, keeping it professional enough that when a patient lands on it, they do understand what you do and maybe what you're passionate about, and make it easy to get to you. And make sure that your LinkedIn profile also has your website or a link tree, which you can put different links in for them to get to you. So always make it easy for patients to book an appointment.
So obviously you pointed out earlier, the landscape of personal branding has been changing. 20 years, it was handing out business cards, and honestly that's still valid.
Yeah.
But how do you see the landscape changing in the, not only in the next year, but maybe in the next 5 years? How do you think it's turning and changing? I want to take a quick break just to remind you about today's sponsor, MacuHealth. If you are listening to this, then you probably care about eye health just as much as I do. MacuHealth offers a line of incredible supplements that's formulated around published science. MacuHealth is known for featuring the 3 most important carotenoids for your macula: lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin. Whether you're managing age-related macular degeneration or simply looking to offer your patients a high-quality supplement you can trust, MacuHealth has your back. Now, back to the episode.
Well, I think you'll agree with this, is it's moving so fast. And you have to be adaptable and following all the trends if you're going to be a successful business owner these days. You have to, kind of move and shake with everyone else, because everything is not, we used to say everything's digital, but that's even past that. If you're not fully digital on everything and you're not finding ways to connect digitally with your audience, which is your patients, then you're going to miss out. And they're going to gravitate to someone in your community that is more digital than you. So you have to have a presence. And that's why I'm so much about helping ECPs build a personal a presence right now, as well as their, practice brand and their optical brand. And then, if we look at the trends, I sat through an artificial intelligence summit yesterday and listened to what they're predicting for the future of our industry. And it's going to move fast. It's already moving to artificial intelligence in everything from writing a blog on your practice website to scheduling patients to chatbots on your website to answer questions. The capabilities already are amazing, and what they say is going to happen in healthcare. And they kind of alluded to what was happening in dental and what we can expect, and how we're a little behind already. But
could you explain what's happening in dental?
Well, even from the artificial intelligence scanning that they can do, and imaging, and the diagnosis of the images, or the interpretation of the images of the tooth and what's actually going on, is so advanced now that they can pinpoint exactly, what they need to do. And even in some cases, whether it actually needs the root canal or not, where, it was not that detailed or advanced a year ago. But, they talk about what are we seeing as far as, the images that we're taking, to the analyzation and eventual diagnosis, to they showed robotic, artificial intelligence, cataract surgery. They showed a video of it. It was pretty amazing, a little scary, but, I truly think it'll change our industry. And if they left us with any quote that stuck with me, it's, artificial intelligence is not going to take your job. The person who is learning artificial intelligence is going to take your job. The person who can use artificial intelligence to, the next level will take your job.
I know right now, even I've been just, if you go on Google now at the timing of this recording, if you type in any question regarding eye care, treatments for what is this condition, the first thing that shows up if you're using let's say Google or some other search engine is an AI answer, right? It takes a second, it's thinking, it's looking at different web pages, and it'll give you, here's this answer.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed it's accurate.
Yes.
That's but right now, this is the worst it's going to be going forward.
Yeah.
It's only going to get better, more accurate.
Yeah.
So it comes, I always kind of question, okay, because I think as everyone's kind of used to Dr. Google now, it's really going to get to that point where, okay, how do we compete?
Yeah.
How do we show our value compared to something like?
And it's tough, because I'm the first one to get, it's so hard to keep up with everything that's happening. And where do you focus your efforts when you're a busy practice owner? And what do you watch? What trends do you watch? And I don't know if I have the perfect answer, except I think every ECP, whether they own a practice or not, should be really trying to follow the trends of what's happening. I even heard an optometrist, who has figured out how to use Chat GPT
I love it.
to help come up with treatment protocols. So, for example, there's so many things you can even do with ChatGPT now. You can, I don't know if you know this, but you can upload, because I didn't know this, you can upload a user guide. Let's say a user guide for an IPL or a user guide for a device. And you can now ask ChatGPT questions because you put this user guide in there and it's like, what if I come up with this skin setting, what IPL setting should I do? And ChatGPT will tell you because it has the user guide. Oh, yeah. To, asking it, I've come up with, this severity and type of dry eye. What would you recommend for a treatment protocol? And it can start giving you some of that answers. Yeah. And that to me is just mind-blowing that a generative AI that isn't in our industry knows our industry so well.
Mm-hmm. And I know I've been using it because I've been uploading publications. I'm like, hey, here's this publication. Yeah. Scan these 3 publications. Tell me a quick review of the finding. How strong is this as a publication? And then the tough thing for me, though, is I'm still so cautious about it.
Yeah.
That I'll get these things and I'll ask it, hey, which page did you get that statistic from? Exactly which page of this article? And then I'll go double check.
Isn't that crazy?
And I haven't really ran into any issues with it.
Yeah. They say it's not perfect. Nothing in AI is yet, but it's getting so accurate. Because no different than the software I'm working with for dry eye, it is machine learning. The more patients that are added to the machine, the more it learns, the more it analyzes, uses data science, teaches algorithms, which teach artificial intelligence. So the more information all of these AI platforms get, the more effective they're going to be and the more accurate.
I know I'd like to get your perspective on this. One interesting thing. So I will go to social media conferences, kind of like how we come to eye care conferences. I go to ones on social media, YouTube specifically. And while AI is becoming a huge tool and asset in that degree, there's also this thought of how valuable authenticity is, that is really the new currency in social media, because so many people are jumping on using AI that it starts to sound AI. It looks AI.
I've seen that happening. And I think we all know what is authentic, and we can truly tell what has been kind of manipulated or created. Although they did show yesterday how amazing AI is getting in the fact that it can take your voice and your image. This happened to you. You can actually talk to that. But I do think that people eventually figure out that it's not you, or that this isn't real. And your patients are going to figure that out too. And they're going to start to eventually know that it's not you talking to them.
You hope so. For those who are listening in and hadn't seen that, I had a company who used a dubbing AI technology to take a previous video that I posted on social media, and I will say the AI technology that copied my voice was very convincing. Yeah. It sounded just like me. They changed the words that make it sound like I was endorsing a product that I've never used or would recommend.
Yeah.
And then the AI warped my lips to make it look like I was saying those words. And just looking at it, I think anybody who has decent eyesight could tell that my lips were not moving realistically.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is only, within the next few years, it's going to look convincingly realistic.
Even yesterday in this AI summit, Dr. Howard Purcell showed a very convincing, amazing example of, he had used, an AI, and I don't know which one it was, that copied him and his voice, and it was live. And so the audience asked the AI questions, and it answered live. And I've never seen that. It was amazing. But what was even more amazing is it knew boundaries. So, some were asking how many, because he works at NICO, and so they were asking how many students are in the first year of NICO for optometry, and it answered perfectly. And then somebody said, what slot machine would you play on the casino floor? And he said, I can only give you information about NICO. But it was pretty interesting how quickly it could answer questions. And I was amazed at what this could potentially do for us, where, patient wants some questions, but we're busy in our practice, but it could answer because you've programmed it to be able to answer for you. I think the potential is unlimited now.
And I think, again, we could dive into AI and how this is changing. Like every month we could probably have another conversation, talk about something new that's coming out.
Yeah.
I'm curious, going back to our discussions on personal branding, posting, whether it be personally or for your business, your clinic, a big factor is engagement, is being able to be present in your own content, engaging back with comments. But that can also open up some challenges, I feel. Like how do you engage with content and whoever's viewing or commenting versus crossing the boundary of a doctor-patient relationship?
I mean, you do always have to keep HIPAA compliance in your back pocket as far as, you can't chat about medical or patient information. So I think you have to walk a fine line. So when it comes to engaging, if somebody likes your post, I think you thank them or you like their reply or their comment. It doesn't mean you always have to comment back. It doesn't mean that, and I'm a big believer, if somebody likes my posts or comments, I try to give them, almost that recognition. I see that, thank you for your comment, or I like it, or I comment back. When it's a patient information, you have to be cautious or careful about that. Especially, so if you posted something about dry eye and a patient comes on and says, Dr. Allen helped me cure my meibomian gland dysfunction, it's important for you to figure out how you respond to that. And it could be just that you like it instead of entering more information that could be compromising your HIPAA compliance. So watch that a little bit. Yeah.
Can't confirm or deny that you've seen the patient.
Right. I know it's so difficult. It's, walking the lines of not confirming patient information publicly. And just be careful of that, if I can say anything. And you liking it is not confirming something. Sure. Yeah.
I know myself, when I started getting on social media, I kind of adopted, without any legal guidance, I'm just like, okay, what is truly ethically best for this person?
That's a great way to think of it.
Because you get if anybody has not seen them already, you're going to get a lot of medical questions. People are going to want basically for medical advice. And so I always first try my best to answer in a non-personal way. I'm not saying you need to do this.
Yeah.
I'm saying some people can get this, or that's very complex. That can be, those sort of symptoms could be caused by X, Y, Z, so many different things. And that's why it is best for you to see a local eye care professional.
That's perfect.
And I just, so it's unfortunate because I know people want
they want you to almost diagnose on that.
Yeah, and I just try to say, like, nope, it's in your best interest to see somebody local. I can't give a diagnosis or treatment through a social media site. Yeah. So I think it's a tough one.
I also always give the advice of the best way to, maybe build your strategy of how you're going to post, engage, is follow those who do it a lot. Follow the influencers online. You're a great example of great content. You post a lot. I know you're the big YouTuber, Dr. Eye Health, but you also post on other channels. But there's some great optometrists and ophthalmologists and opticians posting out there. So
and on every platform.
every platform. So I also, hear all the time, well, which platform should I be on? And I'm like, be on the one that you enjoy, because then you'll spend more time on it. Be on the one that you're comfortable with, and then get to know it even better. And don't try to do them all unless you're a guru. And then be on all of them. I'm not even on all of them. I spend my time on LinkedIn and Instagram. It's because I enjoy them, I'm good at them, and I like spending time there. And so my suggestion is always to follow those who are doing what you want to do.
What about poor reviews? It's always a tough question I think a lot of doctors deal with when it comes to like running their practice, whether it be a true patient of yours, somebody that's just angry and wanted to throw something out there.
Yeah.
How would you suggest doctors best respond to a negative or less than satisfactory review on a website like Google Reviews?
Well, I will say, first and foremost, that Google Reviews are still super important. We hear from practices all the time that it's still one of their main patient acquisition strategies, because they're tracking how new patients are coming in, and patients are saying, I read a review. So how important reviews are. And the one thing I've always taught is you're going to get a negative review at some point, no matter how good you are, because there's just things that happen, and life happens, and so do business things happen, and you might run late, or you might be sick, or whatever it is that caused that negative review. You're going to have the odd one. And the best thing to do is, number one, deal with it immediately and as effectively as you can. So fast wins everything, in my opinion. And so respond really quickly. Try to take it offline, meaning, we're so sad to hear that you had a bad experience. Can I have someone contact you, or can I contact you? Right? Try to take it offline. Try not to engage in a whole ongoing dialogue online. That would be my first suggestion. But the easiest way is to apologize and just say, we're so sorry, or so sad to hear about that. We really want to fix this situation. I learned a long time ago, and this is literally back to my retail days, and I had a supervisor, and this is when I managed an optical store, and I had a bad week of numerous complaints that week, and I was feeling very down that all these customers weren't happy. And the supervisor I had at that time put it into perspective for me, and she said, how many customers do you have in a month? And at this store, it was big, 1 hour superstore. And I said, 400, we do 400 pairs of glasses, or 400 customers out of here. And she said, how many refunds do you give in a month? And I said, oh, we knew that stat. And I'm like, maybe 1 or 2. And she's like, how many actual pairs of glasses do you remake in a month? And I'm like, yeah, a couple. And she's like, put it into perspective, is majority of people are happy. And the other thing too is, she's like, people don't always like to complain. Like, there's a few that do. But for the most part, if somebody's complaining, it's a true disappointment or need. And they usually don't want anything back. They just want it fixed. And so, the easiest way is just say sorry and fix it. Don't let it get to you personally. You didn't do a bad job. Just make them happy. And it's so small in the big scheme of how many customers we actually have. And ever since then, it just changed my perspective of, number one, there's only a couple, and it's usually two, something that we've actually done to make them disappointed. And so just fix it.
So with the profession, knowing marketing, personal branding, what do you think are like the 3 actionable steps you would consider is most important for doctors who are listening to this to start their personal branding or to get serious about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I started off by saying I've been helping practices market their practice for years. And that's still a really important foundation to build, because even as you start to build your personal brand, it's still going to drive to your practice brand. So build that foundation really well, have a great website, great social media, everything's optimized, lots of, posts, and don't make things stagnant or empty. Always revisit those profiles, meaning your website could use an update or new content, or you probably have new products or services. So keep them updated. And then as you build your personal brand, the best thing I tell you is Google yourself. Go right now, put yourself in Google. And actually, I do it a number of ways, and I showed this in the session yesterday, but put your name in. And if you have a really common name like Mike Smith, put optometrist behind it. But see what comes up, see where you come up, and go into those profiles. And like an example yesterday is an optometrist said to me, what came up was a Twitter account I started 15 years ago and have not been on in years. And he's like, I have no idea. I've forgotten all about it. So Google yourself and go to Bing as well, just because it actually shows different profiles. So do it on a couple browsers and
But who uses Bing?
Old people.
I think anybody who gets a Microsoft product, it tries to prioritize Bing, right?
It does,
It tries to default to that. So people are using it, and it's good just to have a good thought about
if you're a
what's
PC
showing up.
user, you've often defaulted to Bing. But I guess the third thing would be, start to really think about what you want to tell as a story of yourself. And that is, what are you passionate about? What are you starting to specialize in? If a patient landed on a personal brand of yours, like LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, what does it immediately say you do? Not just that you're an optometrist. What does it do that you love? And it could be you just love doing eye exams. You just love helping people with their visual needs. Just tell that story.
And then my final thing, because this is called the I Give a Damn podcast, and clearly you care about what you do. That's why you've been investing in this, studying this, and constantly trying to track what's changing. But what led you personally to finding that passion, to being enthralled by it?
It was my dad. I always tell the story. I grew up in eye care. I literally have memories of running around his optical store, and he loved the industry. He was so involved and engaged in it. He was the president of the Opticians Association of Canada. He wanted, some of his kids to follow his footsteps. And so I'm the one who really latched on and got involved. But it was growing up with somebody who was already so loved the industry, put it that way. And he passed that on to me.
Well, Trudi, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your knowledge. For anybody who wants to kind of follow you on LinkedIn, they want to reach out to you, see what you're doing, how can they best kind of find you? Yeah,
so for sure LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, it's just at Trudi Charest. And on Instagram, I'm known as eye care marketer. So that would be my two taglines. So you can find me there. And I'm really, the only Trudi in eye care. So if you start typing it in, I'm sure you'll find me. But
there's some other Trudi out there just like, no.
Yeah, and you can also find me at csidryeye.com.
Thank you so much, Trudi.
Thanks.
So that was our episode for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have been getting value out of these episodes, please do us a favor and follow or subscribe to our channels, either over on YouTube itself or over on your favorite podcasting platforms. These numbers do help us out, help us grow. And with that, I promise you, I will continue to not only up my own skills as an interviewer, but be able to bring in more guests that you are interested in hearing from so that we can better grow this profession together. Again, Dr. Allen here from the I Give a Damn podcast. Keep an eye on it, and we'll see you in that next one.